Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christina and today we are talking about my most used makeup. I've had a good amount of people come to me and ask me what is my go-to foundation, mascara, blush, all of the things, and I thought it would be super helpful for you guys if I just laid it all out in one video. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So this is going to be a collection of makeup products that I have gone through multiple of. I've either repurchased or I have fully finished them up in one way or another. This video is slightly interchangeable with a best of in every category type of video, except I have commitment issues, so it's really hard for me to reward something the best of without like getting really anxious about it. But if you guys want to see like a top 3 in every category type of video, because I know those are really popular, please let me know in the comments down below. The first one is the Rare Beauty Flexible Brow Gel. This one is one that I started purchasing when it was $16, and you guys, it's like $21 now, which is kind of insane, but unfortunately it's one that I really love and I go through them. I love the formula of this one. It's that liquid wax texture that actually keeps your brows up. It's the only thing that can feather my brows but also laminate my brows. I typically go for a feathered look, and it doesn't get crusty, it doesn't get crunchy, and it allows me to go in with my brow pencil, brow pen, whatever I use to fill in my brows. And this is going to be my most used brow pencil. This is the Kosas Brow Pop Nano. When Kosas has a sale on their site, when Sephora has a sale on their site, I will always buy 1 or 2 of them because I know that I will use them. I do think it's kind of pricey because it is quite small. It's like a 25mm tip here, and I get the shade Brown Black. It's creamy enough to where it's not depositing too much product onto the brows. It gives you that fine, precise, thin line on the brows, so it kind of looks like hair-like strokes, and then you have this more stiff, tiny spoolie on the other side, which I think is perfect because it makes it really workable in the brows without getting it all over your skin and requiring extra cleanup. This is just an elite product. I have been trying to use up more of my brow products, so I haven't been reaching for this one as often, but in terms of the most used, most purchased, this definitely beats any other product hands down. Moving on to eyeshadow, and I considered doing like subcategories for this one, but I thought I would just go with the ones that popped up in my brain immediately, and that is of course going to be the Surratt Beyond Beige eyeshadow palette. I cannot get enough of this. I have it on my eyes today. I had it in my project pan for quite a long time, which is why this is going to be in my most used. So this has been the one consistent quad and one consistent eyeshadow story that I have used. This is a Japanese slurry, so the texture of this is very buttery and smooth, but it gives you a lot of pigmentation that's incredibly easy to blend. I still don't really understand why it's so easy to work with, but truly it is one of the best eyeshadow palettes, and anytime I do any look with this, it looks incredible. It looks flawless. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it ever getting patchy or looking bad on the eyes. This one from Armani, this is one of their eye tints, and this is in 25M Sandalwood. It's one of the newer eyeshadow shades that they have, and before I was using this a lot. I was using Cashew a ton, but that one definitely leans a lot cooler, and this is a little bit more neutral tone, and I love it for that. This is a great one and done eyeshadow whenever you want something just to add a little bit of dimension to the eyes, but you don't want to have to go in with a full eyeshadow look. I also really like this as an eyeshadow base, so it helps with the longevity of my eyeshadow, or I can wear it alone and it lasts all day. Sometimes I'll have some creasing if it's an increasingly hot, humid day, but other than that, I'm really happy with the longevity of this one. Liquid eyeshadows do tend to be a bit more difficult for people, but I will say that this one, because it has a little bit more of a thick moussey texture, it gives you a lot of blend time before it actually dries down, and then it dries down to a really thin texture that doesn't look crepey or like wrinkly on the eyes. My most used mascara is not going to come to a surprise to any of you guys if you watch my channel, but the Heroine Make Advanced Film Long and Curl Mascara. I reference this mascara every single time anyone asks me about mascaras. It's the only mascara that holds my curl by itself, does not smudge. Actually, it does smudge a little bit these days. You know how sometimes when you use a specific formula for a long period of time, sometimes it starts to like change on you. This one can smudge, but I've I found a remedy for that. But I do want to talk about this one first. This is going to be a Japanese mascara. It does have a slight curve to it, but it's not anything too intense because this is made for the Japanese market or the Asian market, and we do tend to have a little bit less of a curve to our eyes. It is a fiber mascara, so it does have the tiny little fibers in it, but it's not irritating to the eyes whatsoever. I really love to take this and kind of roll it through my lashes and coat every single lash. It gives you a ton of definition and a lot of length. They do have a volume version, but I much prefer the long and curl because I love the look of really long lashes. I'll use this alone, but I'll also use it as a base mascara, a priming mascara. If I use most other mascaras, they typically will make my lashes droop, but if I layer it with this, it always stays, it always holds the curl. They do have priming versions of this, but I like that this is already a black mascara. And I wanted to mention a runner-up, the Kulfi Badi mascara. I've gone through a tube of this. This one is almost done. I love the length that this gives me, but it gives me that added volume that this mascara may not give me. Usually I'm not a huge fan of these really plasticky bristles, and it has like a ball tip on the end of it. I don't love the ball tip. I don't really utilize that part of it, but because the bristles are shorter, it's very easy to work with and it doesn't deposit too much product onto your lashes. The reason that I love layering these two is because this, since it's a tubing mascara, will tube all my lashes and hold this in kind of like a shield, so my lashes don't smudge whenever I use this. You guys constantly ask me what mascaras I'm using, and it's usually a mixture of these two. There's another mascara that I've been really loving, the Urban Decay Tube Job, and I'll use that in place of this one, and it's great for definition. So for my eyeliners, I did actually do subcategories because I feel like this one's kind of important. The first one I want to talk about is my favorite tight liner. This is the Canmake Creamy Touch Liner. This is 03, which is just a brown shade, and again, this is going to be a Japanese beauty brand, so it is going to be that super tiny pinpoint. I feel like it's the size of the Kosas Brow Pop Nano, so this one is wonderful if you want to go in with a micro liner, if you want to do really nice detail work on the eyes. But my favorite way to use this is as my tight line because it is the longest lasting eyeliner that I have found personally that stays in my tight line. And this is actually all finished up. I just found out when I was doing my makeup today that I have completely finished this one up, and it has a great price point. I think it's like maybe $6. My favorite pencil liner, especially for a wing, is going to be the Makeup by Mario pencils. This does have this very usable brush on one end, and then it has the pencil on the other. I like to just kind of draw it on there and then immediately go in and wing it out. This also does really well in the tight line, but I find that the Canmake slightly outlasts the Makeup by Mario one. I've gone through an entire one of these last year, I think, and I'm going through this one quite quickly. The last eyeliner I want to mention here is a brightening liner, and that's going to be the Surratt Brightening Liner. Now this is dual-ended, so it has one side that you twist, and it's the sponge applicator with some eyeshadow, and you can use it to highlight your eyes, your brow bone, wherever you want. It's really beautiful, but I just love the eyeliner on this side. Now when you look at it, it's this beige tone, and it doesn't look like it would be brightening on the eyes, but at least for my complexion, when I put it on my eyes, it is the most natural brightening eyeliner because it's not going to be a stark white, or even sometimes like cream eyeliners. They can look a little bit intense on my eyes, and if I want something that just wakes up my face and doesn't necessarily look like I put anything in the waterline, this will be my go-to. It's not going to stay as long as like the Canmake in my tight line, but I do think that this has really great lasting power compared to other brightening eyeliners that I've used in the past. This one is nice and creamy. It's a little bit more of a fatter tip, I guess, and you can really get in there. You can argue that face primers in general are not something that you need unless you're trying to target a specific need like oiliness, because I am quite oily, but I did want to mention this moisturizer because I feel like it definitely has become a staple as a primer. So this is from Merit. This is the Great Skin Priming Moisturizer, so you can use it either way, as a primer or as a moisturizer, or both. It is going to be a very creamy type of moisturizer, but it still has a little bit of thinness thickness to it, almost like it has slight, in a really good way, greasiness, a little bit of slip to it so that it can really adhere to the skin and then absorb into the skin because it feels like a thin layer of moisturizer. This one for me, I don't think actually negatively affects the longevity, so I really like it for that, and it just feels very nice. And I feel like every time I use this, my face is just way easier to put makeup on. My only gripe with this though is any moisturizer that's like in the tip will become hard, so that's a little annoying, but I can live with it. I feel like I'm almost done with this. I have a feeling that this is going to run out quite soon. A color corrector that I know and love, and I've gone through so many of them at this point, the Sigma Duo color corrector. I have mine in medium to dark, so you have a lighter shade and a slightly darker shade, and you can go in, mix and match them, use them separately. I do have hyperpigmentation caused by acne scarring. I also have some freckling going on, and sometimes I kind of just want to cover that up. So this allows me to do it without having to use layers and layers of concealer. I love this texture because it's slightly more tacky. It's a little bit more stiff, so it actually stays on the spot that you put it on rather than like slipping and sliding when you put a foundation on top or if you put a concealer on top. Next, we're going to talk about concealer, and I have the Kulfi Concealer. I have the shade Mango Drop, and currently this one is slightly deeper for me, so I have been using other concealers. I've used a couple tubes of this now. I love it and I continue to repurchase it. This concealer I feel like is kind of a universal one in my opinion. I don't think that I've met anyone that just doesn't like this concealer. So it is going to be slightly hydrating, but what I love about it is that the pigment stays on the face even though it is hydrating. It's very blendable and it looks natural on the skin while giving you medium coverage with the pigmentation of this. So I'll put it directly on the skin, I'll blend it out a little bit, and then I'll let it sit for like a couple of seconds, maybe just like 10-15 seconds, and then I'll continue to blend it. And I feel like that is the perfect amount of time to get slightly more coverage while still being very blendable. Even though this one is a little bit deeper for me currently, I do feel like it has that perfect neutral undertone because I am a pretty true neutral undertone. So my most used foundation, I knew right off the bat it was going to be the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. I had a different shade for a very long time, but I realized that 230 is a perfect like skin tone match for me. Before, the shade that I had was slightly more olive and I could always slightly see it, but this is my go-to favorite, more full coverage foundation. This is going to be the one that I'll wear if I'm filming a long period of time during the day, if I know that I want my makeup to last a really long time, if I want my skin to just look absolutely perfect. This is going to be the one that I know is never going to let me down. It does have more of that natural finish, so I would say that it doesn't add any like hydration to the skin, but it also doesn't necessarily mattify the skin either. My preferred method currently is that I'll really work this into my brush. I'll like put it onto a makeup palette and then I'll stipple it all onto that foundation brush, and then I'll go in and kind of swipe and dab it all over the skin just to get even coverage, and then I'll go in with a damp sponge to pick up any excess product and then continue that until I'm happy with the coverage that I get. It really does not take a lot to get perfect looking skin with this, so that's the reason I love that. But to give you guys a drugstore option and one that I consistently pick up, the Maybelline SuperStay, nothing like this. I'm telling you guys, it is perfection. If this was at the drugstore with a little bit more hydration to it, it would be this one. So I have this in the shade 220, and I will say the shade range is not the best, but if you can find your shade, I would highly recommend trying this one out. So this does say it's a skin tint, but for a skin tint, it has a lot of coverage. It is going to have more hydration to it, but it does dry down if you do a thin layer. It gives you kind of that natural satin matte look, and it just looks so good on the skin. I think that it moves with the skin. I don't think that it ever looks greasy or crepey on the skin. Truly is a great drugstore find, but I will say that I'm not a huge fan of the dropper. I never use the dropper. I just take that out and then I'll use the product on the outside of the dropper, and then I'll go in that way. But two really great foundations. So I have been really loving my powders the last year and a half or so. My taste in the finish of my makeup has definitely changed. I used to be a dewy girl through and through, but these days I love something more like a natural matte finish because my oils will shine throughout the day and just end up looking more natural anyways versus trying to counteract any dewiness happening from my makeup. So my most used loose powder, I'm gonna give it to Laura Mercier. It was a tie or very close to the Huda Beauty one, but I just feel like the Laura Mercier one wins just a little bit more. I love to use this to set down the face either before my finishing powder or after it if I need just a little bit more setting for a long day of wear. It never makes my skin look dull, and it gives me the perfect amount of mattifying finish that I want. I'm sorry if you can hear me like losing my voice as I'm talking. I don't know why that's happening. Now for my most used finishing powder, it's going to be the Kosas Cloudset powder, and this is in the shade Comfy, and this is truly a one-of-a-kind powder. So this is going to be a baked formula, but the way that this just makes the skin look incredibly airbrushed is beyond words. So if you are a no powder person, you don't like powders because you think that they look thick or cakey on the skin, but you want something, or maybe you need something to kind of help with the longevity or the finish of your makeup, this is going to be the one that I would recommend to you because it's one of those powders that just doesn't look like a powder. So I'll either go over or under my loose powder. Either way works perfectly fine. I love how versatile this one is. But if I want incredibly blurred skin, then I'll go in with like a little puff here. I'll go into the powder and then I'll press it into the skin, and then I'll go over that with loose powder, and that'll give me ultimate blurred coverage. It looks so good. But if I'm looking for something that's more natural, maybe I'm only wearing very minimal makeup, but I still want powder on the skin, I'll go for this one. And I also wanted to mention the Laura Mercier translucent pressed powder. I've completely finished one of those up in my project pan, and I love that powder as well. I've also finished a couple of these as well. Now we're moving into the blush category. So I did do subcategories for this one just because I feel like it makes the most sense. So first we're talking about a stick blush. So Persona Stick Blush in Teddy. I chose this one because I really do feel like this is one of my most used. It's one of the ones that I constantly go back to. If you've never used a Persona multi-stick, I would say they're very similar to the Rhode Peptide Cheek blushes, whatever that's called, but I like these a little bit more because I feel like they have a little bit more pigmentation and less dewiness. So for someone like me who is more oily, it's going to stay on the skin better. And it's kind of this beigey peachy blush that looks incredible all year round on my skin tone. And I really love the texture of this because it's almost going to be a little bit tackier, like a little thicker of a stick blush, and I think that helps it adhere to the skin better. And as far as my liquid blush goes, my Saie Dew Blush, specifically in the shade Rosy, I think I've used a lot of this one. And this was definitely a very well-loved liquid blush in my collection because it's one of the pinks, one of the first pinks that I found that actually complemented my skin without it like competing with my complexion. I know that the dew blushes aren't for everyone, but I truly love this like gel texture. I feel like it works really well and it still holds a lot of pigment. It's not just like a thin like serum-y type of cheek product. This one and the shade Cutie I think are so beautiful. They're the ones that I reach for the most when I'm thinking of these Saie Dew blushes. And then for a cream blush, I have the Glossier Cloud Paints actually. Although I haven't had these for an incredibly long time, I tend to kind of rotate through these and a couple more shades that I have quite often. And I feel like they're kind of becoming those blushes that I reach for without even thinking about. My two most used shades, this one in the shade Float, which was really surprising to me because you guys know I'm not a huge fan of mauves. Sometimes they can make my skin tone look a little bit grayish, but this one, once it's actually on the skin, it has just the right amount of like pinky tone to it. And then the shade Burst, which is going to be this true red that actually translates very, very naturally on the skin. Like I said, I'm going for more of like a matte finish, a matte look, and these I would still say are cream type of blushes because they are kind of like that bouncy texture. My favorite way to wear these is on top of my finishing and like setting powders because I feel like you get the most impact out of them that way. My powder blush, and I didn't grab it, I should have grabbed it, but my most used blush is going to be the Haus Labs blush in the shade Fire Moon. I love the texture of the Haus Labs blushes. I feel like, again, they're just going to give you that beautiful diffused natural skin finish. There's no added like sheen to them, but it's not too mattifying. It's so buttery and they're very, very pigmented. So I will say that you have to go in with a light hand, but once you get the hang of it, they're incredibly easy to work with. And Fire Moon is the perfect beigey peachy tone. It kind of can serve as a bronzer when I'm very pale, but other than that, I just love the shade in general. It looks so, I guess, at home. It's a very at home color on my complexion, and I love it. It's so good. So bronzers are another category that I did subcategories for, starting with my stick bronzer. It's going to be the LYS Harmony, the shade Harmony. Ever since I got this, I have not been able to put this down. The tone of the shade Harmony from the bronzing collection from LYS is my perfect bronzer all year round. So I think it's a very beautiful neutral tone. So it's never going to look too red. It's never going to look too orange. Also, to pair that, my most used powder bronzer is the LYS powder bronzer in the shade Harmony. And as you can see, I recently hit pan, which is really exciting because this is also in my project pan. But again, same tone, it's just in a powder form. It blends in like butter. It goes on so smoothly, very easy to work with. I find that a lot of bronzers can be intimidating, especially if it's not the perfect tone on my skin tone, because it can just be too much too quickly. That's never the case with this one. But going back to a liquid bronzer, the Makeup by Mario Shaping Serum. I'm kind of cheating here, you guys, because I'm adding some Project Pan products, but I do think that even before I had these in my Project Pan, I was already reaching for them very often, which is why I decided, okay, let me just put these in my Project Pan. I think the Shaping Serums from Makeup by Mario were a hit or miss for a lot of people. I personally really love it. I have the shade Medium, and it's just like half a step deeper than my actual skin tone, so it's going to give the most natural bronze. And the reason why I love this is I like to use this as kind of a layer, so I'll use this on the areas that I want to bronze, and then I'll go on top of it with like a powder bronzer. And I feel like the bridge between this and the foundation and the bronzer, it just makes it look a little bit more seamless. And I also really love this on days where I'm wearing very minimal makeup. I'm not the type of person that likes to wear just blush or just bronzer on my bare skin because I have a lot of hyperpigmentation. So on days when I'm not wearing a lot of makeup, I'll go in with like concealer, I'll go in with this, and I'll go in with some powder, and that'll be like my base or my complexion. And it works incredibly well for days like that, but also even on full glam days. The stick contour that I feel like I have used the most is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. I have this one in the shade Chocolate Souffle, and yes, it smells like chocolate. It smells incredible. It smells like cocoa powder. If you don't like chocolate, you won't like that portion of it, but this contour is incredible. It does lean more neutral in my opinion than it does cool. I like to use this very sparingly, just in the areas that I want to contour. I'm not going to like do streaks of it. I like to do it to kind of chisel like my jaw right here, the hollows of my cheek, a little bit on my temples, and it just really pulls a look together. And same goes with my powder pick. So this is my favorite contour powder. This one is from NYX. It's the Buttermelt Bronzer in number 3, Deserve Butter. And I did repurchase this one time because the one that I had traveled with, it broke, it shattered. And then I ended up picking it up again because I just did not have something else in my collection that I felt like took the place of this one. So this is going to be, in my opinion, more of a contour. For my neutral complexion, I think that this one does the best as more of a contouring shade, or if I'm doing more of a cool tone look. When you swatch it here, it looks almost gray, but it's one of those products where when you actually blend it into the skin, it really transforms. I think you can kind of see it right here. So as you can see, it looks a little bit grayish because it has a bit of the sheen going on it, but when it's on my actual skin, it really does just add a lot of definition again. A setting spray that I would consider my most used, and you guys will not be surprised, my One Size On Till Dawn setting spray. Now this is another one that I have gone through bottles and bottles, or cans and cans of them. It is an oily girl's staple. This is not for everyone. This can be super heavy duty for a lot of people, but for me, this is gonna be my girl. I live in a hot, humid climate, so this really comes in handy. I have been using my other setting sprays. I'm trying to like use those up too, so I've been using this a little bit less lately, and I think in total I've gone through 2.5 because I had a travel size, maybe 2, 3.5, and I had a jumbo at some point and I used that one completely up too. Okay, we're moving into lips now, and I did categorize these out. So let's start with lip prep. Most use lip scrub, and I've been using this for years and years, you guys. The lip scrubs from Lush. This one in the flavor Sticky Dates. This is my first jar of this one, but before this I was using mint juleps, and then I've used like the cherry one. I don't know, I've gone through so many of these. I'm pretty sure I've had one of these in my bathroom for the last 12 years, 13 years. Yeah, this is definitely a most used staple. It's just a sugar scrub essentially, and I find that it's the best one for when my lips really need to be like sloughed off, like the dead skin, you know. It has slight hydrating properties to it, like it'll leave a slight film to it, but nothing to where it feels uncomfortable or like slimy or anything. Lip plumper, or like lip balm, I guess, is going to be this one. This one's from Dr. Dennis Gross, and this is the Plump and Repair Lip Treatment. This is by far the best lip plumper I've ever used because it actually feels like it's plumping the lips, and it gives a lot of color to my otherwise very dull looking lips. So whenever you use this, you can feel it working, but it's not to the point where it's just painful to be painful. It actually does make the lips more plump and preps it for any lip color whenever I'm doing my makeup. So I like to swipe some of this on before I start doing my makeup. And another added bonus, and the reason why I feel like this one really stands out from the other lip prep plumpers, is because this feels hydrating. It feels like you're putting a lip balm on top of the lips even after you wipe it away. I find that most lip plumpers can be more drying than they are hydrating, so this one being hydrating is very unique to me. My go-to lip balm, my most used lip balm, Eadem Le Chou Chou lip balms. I have all the shades except for the 2 new like pink shades that they recently announced. The metal tip applicator just makes it feel so pleasing to put onto the lips. I love the shades, I love the tones of them. I think it is the perfect amount of pigmentation for a lip balm. I don't like when a lip balm is too pigmented to where you can't just swipe it on without a mirror. They give you a tint, but also you can wear them by themselves as a lip color with like a lip liner, or truly just by themselves. They actually feel hydrating. They don't feel like my lips are peeling. They stay on the lips for quite a while because it is going to be slightly thicker of a texture. So I really love that about them as well. And then I didn't grab this one either, but Vaseline. I've been using like, you know, the little tiny Vaseline things, and I have the creme brulee scent right now. And I don't know why I wasn't using just plain old Vaseline on my lips, but truly it is one of the best products for my lips when they're cracked or dry, or when I just need them to hold moisture throughout the day. I will use my Vaseline. It's great. And another product that I forgot to grab is my favorite most used lip oil, which is going to be the City Beauty lip oil. I've gone through at this point 3 or 4 tubes of that one. I just love it. I love the kind of jelly texture to it. It feels very substantial on the lips, and it's one of the lip oils that I actually feel like I can wear to bed because it's not going to slip and slide all over my lips. And it's a lip oil that actually feels hydrating. I feel like that's kind of hard to find when you're thinking of like a lip oil treatment type of product, but this one by far the best lip oil treatment that I find also kind of doubles as a lip mask overnight. Now I have a lot of lip liners. If you guys saw my lip audit, you can see I have a ton of lip liners, but I did just go with this one, the Glossier Buff Lip Liner. I can actually tell that this is my most used because, again, this is going to be one that's in in my project pan, and I have seen significant use out of this since I started tracking it on my project pan, but even before that I had done a number on this. It's such a good lip liner. It is going to be on more of the cool contoury side on my lips, but it's really nice because you can go in full pigmentation or you can blend it out with your fingers and just get a diffuse look. I tend to like to use this to shape out my Cupid's bow, add a little bit of definition on the outer corners. At some point I'm going to be using this in my lip combination. And then these are going to be my hybrid lip liner lip stain type of products. So these are the NYX Lip Lingeries. So I don't like the applicators, I don't like the ball tip. There's no point to the ball tip. No pun intended, but I could do without the ball tip, but I do truly love this formula. Sometimes it doesn't come out evenly, so you have to make sure you kind of shake it downwards so it goes into the felt tip and then apply it. But I love the amount of pigmentation this has. It's not going to be full extreme pigmentation like something like the CoverGirl Outlast lip stains. Those I find are a little bit too pigmented and it doesn't deposit enough product onto the lips at once. If you give it a couple seconds and then go in with your finger and dab it out, you can really diffuse it. There is definitely a learning curve with these. At first I was a little nervous that they were going to be too high maintenance for me, but as I continue to use them, they just get easier and easier to use. My two most used shades is number 3, Barely There. I have it on my lips today. And then number 1, Tease You Later. So since we're on lip stains, let's talk about my most used water stain, the Ulta Beauty Weightless Water Stain in the shade Plum Paradise. If you don't own this, I highly recommend that you try it. Water stains aren't going to be the most long lasting, but the reason I love this one is because I like to use it as a base color for my lip combinations, or if I don't want to wear a lot of makeup and I just want slight color to my lips, I'll just put a little bit on this one because it completely dries down, doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't dry out your lips, which I really appreciate, but it is the most perfect color. It looks very intimidating here, I totally understand that, but once you put it on the lips, it is the sheer watery color that adds like a slight blush to the lips, and it looks incredibly natural on my lips. It's the reason why I just cannot get enough of it, and I think that it can kind of elevate and transform any lip combination, because essentially I'm taking a lip combination that I normally will do, except I'm putting it on darker lips after I put this on, so it just gives it a little bit more of that extra oomph to it, you know? Glossy lip stain, definitely by far my most used is the Violette FR Lip Nectar in the shade Rose de Mauve. When it comes to lip staining oils, they can tend to oxidize a ton on the lips, but this one I find stays quite true to the color. It does kind of turn deeper, but it still looks like a nudie tone on my lips, which I absolutely love. And the added bonus to this one is it actually feels hydrating. A lot of glossy staining lip oils, they can feel slightly drying as you continue to reapply them, but when you reapply this one, it does feel like you're actually adding a lip oil to the lips, so it's really great. My most used lip staining mask is definitely going to be this Wonderskin one in the shade Chipotle. So it was in collaboration with Chipotle and it was limited edition. This shade reminds me of what my lips used to look like before I lost pretty much the majority of the pigmentation that I have in my lips. As you age, it is very normal for you to lose pigment in your lips. I usually wait, I don't know, anywhere between a minute to 2 minutes or so just to get the most out of it. Most use lipstick, and this one was kind of hard for me. I usually reach for lip glosses and lip balms these days, but definitely my most used bullet lipstick is going to be the Kulfi lipstick in the shade Polka Dots. This is an exceptional formulation. It's going to be more of a silky satin finish on the lips, but the reason why I find this one so easy to reach for is again going to be the shade of it. If you are someone that has a bit of a more like tan or deeper skin tone and you find a lot of lip colors just look off for you, maybe they look a little too bright, these have incredible pigmentation to where they give you like that nudie lip look without having to adjust it too much. Like I could wear this by itself and it would look incredible. I've worn this multiple times by itself. They're definitely brown skin friendly, and polka dots, once it's on the lips, it looks a little bit less deep than it does on the back of my hand, and I think that it adds just the right right amount of color on the lips. My most used lip glosses, I definitely have a lot, but I went with my Fui 3D volumizing glosses. I have so many shades of these and they're so easy to reach for. They're definitely ones that I would consider top tier. I have the shade Cherry Cola 30% and Vanilla 30%. I tend to go more for the 30% because I like doing lip combinations with my glosses, but I do also have the 70% and those look great too. These are just the most glossy, most comfortable lip gloss. They're not sticky whatsoever. They smell like candy. You have so many options because you have the 30% pigmentation and the 70% pigmentation for all of them. Also, some honorable mentions in this category: the Fenty lip glosses, specifically in Hot Chocolate, and the Saie Glossy Bounce lip glosses. Those are exceptional as well. And lastly, I thought I would mention a couple of tools because I feel like I overlook a lot of tools. So my most used brushes are definitely by far my BK Beauty brushes. They are the best brushes on the market as far as I'm concerned. The A506 concealer brush is the one that I use so often. I have the Rephr lash curler, the 20R. They have an 18R and a 20R. I had both of them, and the 20R definitely fits my eyes the most. And then the Surratt eyelash curler. This one from Surratt opens up more, so I will say if you have more downturned eyes, this one may fit all of your lashes better. They get all my lashes. I did a side-by-side here for you guys so you could kind of see. The Surratt lash curler is going to give you closer to a crimp look. Like, you can definitely get a sky-high lash curl with these, while the Rephr is going to be a little bit softer, a little bit more of a natural curl, but you can get both of them to look like either one. Most used pencil sharpener. I feel like I never talk about this, but I have this on my vanity at all times. The Persona pencil sharpener. I use it for all pencil sharpening needs. For cleanup, my little Bioderma, it's the best. I'll use it to run through my brows before going in with any brow products so I don't have any skincare in there. I'll like do a little swipe on my eyelids so I can go on with eyeshadow primer and not have any issues there. Or just regular cleanup, it's perfect for that. Tweezerman tweezers. I've had these for, I can't even tell you how long. Like since I was 13. Not this pair, but I've been using Tweezerman since I was like 13 years old. And then lastly, my Rare Beauty color switch. You can get these color switches pretty much anywhere, but this one just so happens to be from Rare Beauty. You can utilize either side of the sponge and you just wash it, dry it clean, and then you can use it all over again. I use this whenever I'm going between brushes. It's really great for travel as well. If you want to minimize the amount of brushes that you use, you can just like clean your brushes off with this. And that concludes all of my most used makeup products and tools for you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want to see a follow-up with my most used hair care, body care, skincare, please let me know in the comments down below if that's something you'd be interested in. I'm gonna leave a video right here that YouTube actually thinks you'll be interested in, but until next time, you guys, take care. Bye.